Have you ever bought a game with the last of your money? I'm not talking running low on money. I mean literally down to the last dollar you own. Well, that is exactly me with Divinity Original Sin 2, all the way back in 2017, when I bought this game in early access, when the game only consisted of Act 1 in Fort Joy, and wasn't complete with voice acting or many of the features you'll now see in the game. I was left with less than $1 measly in my account, and let me tell you, I haven't regretted that purchase a single moment since then. It is currently my most played game across all of my Steam library, and I consistently find myself returning to the game again and again and again, and I can't tell you how many times I've escaped Fort Joy at this point, but it's safe to say I know it like the back of my hand. I was initially planning a late review for this game, but after quite a lot of thought, I came to the realization that a mere review would not do this game justice, so here we are. Divinity Original Sin 2 is one of the best RPGs of all time. That's not even up for debate. It may be one of the best games of all time, and I think almost any RPG or franchise for that matter could learn at least something from this game. But let's run through just why it's so magical and fills me with a sense of joy and wonder every time I even think about playing the game. The first and one of the biggest strengths of this game, all the way from the character creation screen to the end of the game, is the 6 masterfully crafted origin characters, all with their own unique backstory and quest lines, which intertwine beautifully throughout the game's main story from start to finish. In most RPGs, companions are allies who help you in combat and have small side quests or backstories that help you learn a little about them, but they almost always feel like side characters compared to you. Within Original Sin 2, each and every origin character feels as if they're just as important as the main character themselves, which is strongly reinforced by the fact that you're able to choose any of these 6 characters as your main player character instead of creating your own. Hearing the Red Prince describe his empire in vivid detail, or Thane speak about his life from long, long ago without the game cutting to visions of what is being described, allows your imagination to wander free, creating these grand and spectacular environments and scenes within your head, often much greater and impressive than anything a game could recreate. I would buy and play the crap out of 6 individual games based on each of these origin characters' lives up until this game. That's just how well done each and every one is. The fact that you can only have a maximum of 4 of these characters in your party, making you choose which stories to experience and which ones to miss out on, is one of the hardest decisions to make whenever you start a new game. But if you don't want to be bogged down by this decision, then don't be. The game offers a very viable lone wolf option in which you can play through the game with just 1 or 2 characters. I won't go into detail of each origin character, as their stories are best experienced naturally throughout playing the game, getting closer to them and learning more and more about them as your bonds develop. But I've never become more attached to a group of companion characters than I have to those in Divinity Original Sin 2. The next thing that has to be mentioned is the game's quest structure and lack of hand-holding throughout. Most characters you speak to will provide you with a quest, whether it be big or small, or even just some information that may or may not benefit you. But if you don't pay attention, you may miss it completely. I'm going to use the first area of Fort Joy as an example, to keep relatively spoiler-free, and only early game examples. When you enter the Joy, your main quest will be to escape. Simple enough, right? But how? You'll start to talk to many people, most of which will have no clue, because if they knew, why would they still be there? But you will encounter a number of individuals who, if you're able to complete a quest or objective for them, are able to provide you with a way out of Fort Joy. This leads to a number of ways out of the fort. There is no single and only way out, allowing you to take whichever way you discover first, or whichever way appeals to you most. This is a basic example, but allow me to provide another. There will be spoilers for one very short early game quest. Skip to the time on screen if you want to avoid it. There is an individual on the beach within Fort Joy named Migo. He will ask you where the yarrow grows, which means nothing to most players when first encountering him, and you'll have no choice but to fight him, as he doesn't really give you much other option. But if you've had a look around, you'll find a Magister, the prison guards of Fort Joy, named Magister Yarrow. She's asking if you've seen a man named Migo anywhere. Chances are, if you're speaking to her, you've either not seen him yet or killed him. If you manage to pick up a yarrow flower at any point before encountering Migo, you'll be able to give him the flower when he asks where the yarrow grows. This will pacify him, allowing you to return to Magister Yarrow, telling her where he is and giving her Migo's ring as proof. Once they meet on the beach, you'll discover that Migo is actually her father and terrible experiments have been performed on him, turning him into the beast you see before you. Because of the fact that you've helped her, she'll provide you with a way out of Fort Joy. Now, nowhere does the game tell you that you'll need to collect a Yarrow flower for Migo, and if you've been unfortunate enough to encounter him before collecting one, then you'll have no choice but to fight and kill him. And this is why the quests within this game are so well done. You could easily fight and kill him and just think he was an enemy you were supposed to fight, like I assumed on my first playthrough. You'd be none the wiser and it wouldn't mean anything to you. But almost every quest you encounter within this game has a correct way of completing it, which is almost never directly told to you, but instead relies on you being prepared and using your wits and investigation skills at all time, making the discovery of the correct solution feel like an amazing achievement, even if it doesn't particularly have an immense bearing on the overall game. Leading on from this same idea is the fact that quests within a certain area can basically be completed in any order you see fit. The game will not definitively tell you what order to complete side quests, and although there is often a correct or easiest way to do it, as they all can often lead into and intertwine with each other, the game will again not explicitly tell you this, allowing you to freely follow whichever path or direction you decide to take, dealing with the rewards or possible consequences of your actions. Some NPCs throughout the world will only speak to you or tell you certain information if you're the same race as them, or will flat out yell at you to leave them alone if you're a race that they hate. A lot of non-human characters hate humans within this game, whilst a lot of races aren't fans of lizards because they are known for their use of slaves. This means that having a strong variety of races within your party will provide you with the most benefit when it comes to completing quests or finding out information from certain NPCs. A lot of clues that will help you solve puzzles and quests within the game also come from various animals or creatures throughout the world, which you'll not be able to speak to if you don't have the Pet Pal talent, which I would fully recommend picking for your main character. Without it, you'll miss out on a decent amount of dialogue, helpful clues, and even some quests. Again, you won't often receive a quest marker saying, "Talk to the rat wandering around in Fort Joy for a clue to your quest," but if you take the initiative, it'll pay off. Some of the animal voice acting is super goofy, and honestly makes it so much better as well. Everyone needs to experience it.
Into the sea when they're through with you. Oh, the tragedy of it. Sorcerers dance while magisters pull the strings. Fools all this power.
A very strong RPG aspect that has been used less and less over the years but slowly seems to be making a resurgence is the pen and paper, dice rolls aspect of RPGs. The Dungeons and Dragons aspect that influenced so much of what RPGs are today. Larian Studios attempts to bring that aspect back into this game in a quite effective way. First off, the attributes, skills, talents, and overall aspects of your character provide so much control over exactly the type of character you want to run. Do you want to create an elf who is a rogue, stealthy backstab character, who can also use polymorph abilities to grow wings or go invisible? Sure. Do you want to create an undead wizard who specializes in the use of water and lightning spells that allow you maximum potential to shock enemies? Absolutely. How about a lizard who wields a great sword and can knock down multiple enemies at once while also blowing fire across the battlefield? Why not? If you can dream it, you can do it, which was the exact intention of the creators of this game. To create a playground which allows you to make the exact character you imagine, and to roleplay as them as accurately as you see fit. You will not be able to specialize a character in all things, and will be limited to approximately 1 or 2 specializations, resulting in you having to truly think about what you want your character to do, which is again why it's very helpful to have a full party of 4. You are not locked into the class choices you make either. There are multiple respec locations throughout the game, which will basically allow you to completely redistribute all of your stats. That's not where all the RPG aspects end either, oh no. Throughout the entire game, you'll be collecting and exchanging your armor and weapons for better, stronger, and unique weapons and armor, both making you take less damage and deal more, whilst also making your character look more and more awesome and powerful, with each race having different looking armor sets, from the shiny knight's armor of the lizards to the almost non-existent bush that the elves wear. The elves are a perfect example of the classic video game trope, where the best female armor in video games usually provides the least visible protection. As part of the classic D&D vibe, this game is heavily influenced by a narrator is present who is used to narrate basically anything that is not character dialogue within the game. Again, allowing your imagination to take over while he describes a vision from an elf character or an intricate action an NPC is performing. In a way, I actually enjoy this narration instead of specific character animations for every action, as I believe it just helps the game feel noticeably different and helps you get away from possibly janky animations that could detract from what's going on. And as I mentioned before, your imagination is always going to do a better job with narration assistance.
You spot a strange lizard gazing over the water with a steady, malcontent stare. His skin is of a bright, blood-red colour. Could he be... Yes, you recognize him from the ship. It would seem you're not the only one who survived the tentacles.
It definitely helps that the narrator in this game is absolutely amazing and truly makes it feel like you have someone sitting beside you narrating everything that happens. This is one of the few games I've played where I consistently welcome new dialogue instead of wanting to just jump back into the action. I'm always looking for any opportunity to speak to a new character who might provide me with some information, lore, or even just a friendly chat, as they are practically all designed so well and voice acted so masterfully. Also included in the strong D&D influence is the Game Master mode, allowing you to create your own custom stories and experiences that can take place across multiple locations, allowing you to act as a true Dungeons & Dragons Dungeon Master, taking your friends through your own intricately crafted campaign. If you have a group of friends that are super into tabletop games, or even games similar to this, then this game mode will suit you perfectly. The next part isn't necessarily RPG exclusive, but if you've watched almost any of my videos before, you'll know I'm an absolute sucker for sexy environments. And despite being a tactical or CRPG that takes place from almost above the characters, not allowing you to see off into the distance or the skies above, the world and environments still look absolutely phenomenal. And in my opinion, this has allowed them to create exactly what they've wanted, a densely packed and incredibly interesting environment where no more than 5 seconds goes by without you encountering something that catches your eye. The lack of need to focus on distant scenery and not having too much insane geometry in the camera at any one time, or even the fact that you won't ever get too close to textures, lets them focus on creating this magical, dangerous, and absolutely brilliant world. The combat in this game is turn-based, allowing you to tactically plan your moves well in advance. Say your first character uses a poison attack at the feet of an enemy. Your next character may use a fire attack on that poison puddle, causing it to explode and catch on fire, dealing extra damage to that enemy. A lot of the combat is focused on these types of interactions, making environmental factors work together to get the better of your opponents. Using a rain spell to cover the floor in water, then casting a lightning spell at the floor can cause all the water to become electrocuted, dealing damage and shocking or stunning anyone standing in it. Many similar interactions can be created, such as melting ice surfaces to become water, using water skills on fire causing steam which will make it impossible for enemies or allies to see past or through it, limiting where and who they can attack, and a ton more, allowing you to strategize and design each of your characters to complement each other in combat. But don't forget, the enemies in this game are not stupid and they will use these same environmental factors against you. The game is also no walk in the park. There are a variety of difficulty options though, ranging from a mode that allows you to focus on just the amazing story and not worry too much about combat, all the way up to a difficulty that will punish you to the point of deleting your save if all your characters die. The recommended classic mode will still require some intense tactical thinking and decisions in order to not get annihilated. One last thing that almost never gets enough recognition in any game is the music in this game goes absolutely hard. Bringing that feeling of mysticism and fantasy to the forefront from the main menu all the way to the depths of an underground tomb. It perfectly suits everything you do, from exploring the dense world to fighting off armies of magisters and even the undead. So in summary, I believe Divinity Original Sin 2 to be one of the greatest RPGs of all time, if not one of the greatest games of all time. If you're a little bit over the constant open world RPGs seemingly being pumped out, this game might completely change your viewpoint of the genre. Despite gaining an immense amount of popularity and recognition, I still believe this game deserves to be almost as big as the well-known and heavy hitters like Skyrim and Witcher 3. If you enjoyed this style of video, make sure to leave a like, comment if you agree with my opinion or not, and of course, subscribe for more content like this. Peace out.